are you doing? Welcome to the Veritas Machine. I am Tony D, and we got a really great show for you guys today. So we're going to get this going in just a second. The Twitch is streaming live. Oh, I got to get rid of Stomp's thing here. And everybody just starting to check in. Make sure when you check in, you say hello. Bobby Sausalito in the house today. Great guest. Does a lot of great political commentary on his page, a lot of great content. And, of course, the UK Patriot in the house. What's going on, Emma? How you doing? Going to get this show on the road in just a moment. Going to bring Maddie in here in a sec. And we just got to confirm here on my Twitch. And we are rocking and rolling. Good morning, everybody. Evening, that's right. Evening across the pond. Just past lunchtime over in Manny, New York City. So we're going to get this going, guys. Good morning, good evening. From the pineapple to the Big Apple, from Maine to Spain, all across the bubble. Welcome. We're going to get this going right now. I'm going to bring in the UK Patriot. Here he is. What's going on, Matty?
How you doing, bro? We've had some
episode 5.
Week.
Woo,
yeah,
what a week.
Episode 5, and it's been a mad week. Bombshells everywhere.
A crazy,
it's been explosive
week.
They're all in a lot of trouble, aren't they?
Hey, Dublin, how are you? So a lot of you guys are going to bring a little piece of America to you today. Another fellow Italian-American patriot.
It's going to be exciting.
All right. It's going to be very exciting. So you guys ready? We're going to bring on Take Naps here in just a moment. So if you guys have any questions, we're going to be doing Q&As as well. And all topics are open. Nothing is verboten here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get it going. Without further ado,
let's get him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Sauce.
What up?
Hey,
how you doing, bud?
Hello. Everybody in the chat, they're like, bring on the madman.
Yes, I will accept that.
No, awesome. Well, welcome to the show, my man. It's so great to have you here. I've been watching your content for a while since you basically started it. I got a hold of it, and you've been doing some really great, high energy, very complete and well researched political analysis, which is super impressive. We got a lot going on this week. What are some of the issues that you're feeling this week? I mean, we got Crazy Nancy. We got Hunter, bedside. We got bedside Biden. Is Hunter Biden, right? We got bedside Biden. We got Jack is going into Jack Dorsey is going before the Senate. What are some of the things that you're on this week that really are the issues that you think are standing out front here?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And thanks for everybody that's listening and paying attention. I appreciate the time. The ones that I'm focusing on right now, I think the most obvious one is the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of the hot main issue right now. It's been going on for 4 days. There's lots of funny things happening, which is something that I try to pay attention to, is like, when are they just being ridiculous? And the funny things about that is one of the reasons why I'm focusing on that. The second one is so obviously the Hunter Biden situation. I mean, it's more than obvious that is just not only laughable, but not surprising, based on just pretty much anybody paying attention has seen that was a foregone conclusion and that was going to come out sooner or later. So those two are kind of my primary focus. I think the big tech censorship is another one that I'm paying attention to. I think that is certainly concerning, as far as
we've all had to deal with, for sure.
Yeah. As far as how funny that is, I don't know, but it's certainly of concern. I try to make sure that I keep it funny and lighthearted, but also highlight things that are important. Mm-hmm. And then I think the last one, which is one that I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about today, is the fact that the second presidential debate was canceled. And there's going to be these dueling town halls tonight, which is garbage, because I want to know what's going to happen with both of them. And in my mind, I'm just like, well, which one do I watch? Because obviously I want to see what Trump says, because he drops lots of bombs. And I think that it's always good to see how people are going to interpret what he says. And obviously he's funny and I support lots of what he says. But on the other side, if I need a good laugh and I need some juicy content for whatever comes out of his face, I gotta watch the Biden one. So it's gonna be a hard debate to figure out which one I watch.
Split screen.
I think what I have to do just for the juice is like I'm gonna have to watch the Biden one so I can just riff on it. And I'm gonna record the Trump one and probably watch that after. But just the whole premise of the whole thing is preposterous. And I think that like there was probably just a layperson, just off the top of your head, you could think of 10 ways that they could do that debate without just making it a Zoom debate. Any rational human being could figure out ways they could do it. They could be 50 yards away. They could be in an auditorium at either end. They could be literally inside a plastic bubble
at an airport.
If we want to, if we want to be ridiculous, they could be sitting 70 yards apart. They could put a giant glass wall. Or any of those things, not to mention the fact that he's tested negative multiple times, consecutive days in a row. He's been cleared by the doctors. So just those are like probably the most obvious. So just the fact that they're not doing it or they decided to make it a Zoom debate, I think it shows a little bit of protectionism over Joey Basement. I think that they're trying to save him from that. And I think it's unfortunate. I think it's a disservice to the American people. And in these Supreme Court debates, they keep talking about the American people. Like, you're doing a disservice to the American people by electing this. People are already voting. Well, a lot of people already voted, and we voted for Trump, and we support Trump. So the disservice is to the people that already voted, for which he's following the Constitution and his rights to elect this, to put this person in. So exactly what they're saying. The truth is the opposite, which is a common theme of folks on the left. So it's just yet another disaster playing out in real time, which we're all no stranger to seeing.
Right. So on that note of censorship, and Maddie, I mean, you've dealt with this before, right? I mean, you've had the censorship happen. So why don't you give us a little details about like what sort of happened to your account and what sort of content you posted that you feel might have been threatening to these media powers that be?
Well, the week my previous account got pulled down, I had spoken a topic that I usually avoided because I knew it would, it normally had consequences, and that's the COVID. But that nurse, the UK nurse, had spoken out, and she had said how she had a certificate of bollocks because they weren't working hard during it. It was empty, and she was like, why would I have clapped for the NHS at 8 p.m. when I did fuck all? Like, she was saying it was basically a hoax. So I just shared that, and even though that was shown by the news itself in this country, the moment I put that up, next day I was deleted. And I'd posted about a lot of topics, but COVID is what I always avoided, and they fact check COVID all the time. So I think that was behind it. And the closer we're getting to the election as well, I've noticed the censorship is getting a lot worse. I got threatened to get deleted again the other day just for sharing some tweets that weren't even my own. So they're fact checking everything, and the stuff with Ukraine and that, and Hunter Biden, the New York Post and everything, they're blocking the link. So I wouldn't be surprised if they start to shut the social media down completely soon when more things come out.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look, all we're going to get now is, this seems to be the beginning of a landslide. What do you think of, you're a New York guy, right, Bob?
I live in South Florida, but I'm originally from New England.
You're originally from the Northeast. Yep. What do you think of Rudy Giuliani? What's your opinion of Rudy Giuliani and him coming out with a lot of this information? Do you trust him? Do you feel like he's somebody that's really coming from a good place?
Well, it's hard to say. I think that a lot of the stuff that he says, when you cut him out of context, I think a lot of the stuff that he says is poorly delivered, I guess, would probably be the best way to explain it. Like, I could see how somebody that doesn't like him would be like, this guy's unhinged. So delivery is something that I would try to set aside. Is he trustworthy or not? I don't know. I mean, the guy was the mayor of New York City, which gives him which you have to give him some respect, because that's a major U.S. city, the largest city in the United States, one of the largest in the entire world. So obviously the guy has some some degree of experience in public and government affairs. He's been an attorney for a very long time. Donald Trump considers him to be his attorney. If you trust the decisions of Donald Trump, at least in the majority, you have to think that there's got to be some reason that he's doing that. Do I personally trust him? I don't know. I don't distrust him. And if he's the person that has to be the deliverer of this, does that not validate it? I don't think so. I think I don't really know that it would have mattered who it came from, as long as it wasn't like a Michael Cohen, somebody that's like gone to prison for lying.
Right. You can't have them talking for you.
So it's just like the guy, he is the president's attorney. I mean, the guy's been an attorney for a very long time. He was the mayor of New York. I mean, he's deserving of some of our respect based on that alone. And then when you look at like how New York turned around under his control, or I guess I don't want to say control, but you understand.
Tenure.
Like, under his tenure. I mean, New York City became a better place. So it's like you got to give him some respect in that regard as well. Now, he often cites that he was the mayor during 9/11 and he brought everybody back together, and like that is true. But I don't necessarily look at that as being like, hey, this guy deserves all of our respect, because a lot of really bad things happened during 9/11. A lot of different bad things happened after 9/11. There's a lot of still kind of gray area information that I don't know. You know, I think if I remember correctly, and I don't want to say something wrong, but if I remember correctly, right after it, he was down on ground zero. And if I remember, he was in like a hazmat suit. And it was like he was in a hazmat suit and everybody else was walking around with like bandanas. And it's like, yeah, it's the air is safe to breathe. Like, let's clean it up. And I understand the mentality of like the optics of it. If we just leave everything a disaster forever, which it was for a long time, but they were like right on it, clean it up right away. So I understand the optics of like, hey, we got to get this cleaned up. But to think that he would wear a hazmat suit and they didn't, and how quickly they were pushing to get those people out there, and how many negative health benefits have come as a result of that stuff is concerning. But you know, people are imperfect, and how much of that was him versus the situation, I don't know. It's easy to Monday morning quarterback, so I don't necessarily hold that against him completely. So because the information came from him, I don't know. I think information is information, and we can validate it through our own understanding.
And obviously so many theories about that, but you know, dealing with all of this censorship that we got to deal with, we're dealing with also something very interesting. A couple things. We've got a resolution being introduced to remove Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House, right? So that's being introduced by Collins, Representative Collins out of Georgia. And now we've got Ted Cruz. I mean, I used to be a left liberal person myself, right? I used to hate Ted Cruz. Now I follow him. I think he is amazing. You know, so if I could convert, so could anybody. But Ted Cruz coming out today or last night, he put out a video with Senator McConnell saying that they're going to be issuing a subpoena to Jack Dorsey from Twitter. To have him come in and testify. Now you've been watching a lot of the testimony with Judge Barrett, you know, and then you see all these delays of reports coming out, and a comment from President Trump saying the Republicans are playing too nice, right? That's something that had come from him. What are some of your thoughts on, you know, how some of these things are being released? Why is the timing of it so crazed? It's, you know, it seems like if this was all a setup, then the left really had some bad timing, you know?
You mean as it relates to the Hunter Biden stuff, or do you mean as it relates to Judge Barrett?
I think of how the Senate deals with these situations. You know, you've got a lot of observational, political, analytical kind of experience. I just want to know how you feel about these Senate hearings. I mean, are they really doing anything right now for this judge?
I think if it's doing anything, it's, and like Ben Shapiro alluded to this, that there's a lot of very close Senate races that are coming up, and a lot of this is like it's like a campaign video for all these Democrats that are running for Senate, and conversely for the Republicans just by default. So I think what a lot of them are doing is they're kind of like grandstanding, trying to get the meme, trying to get that short clip of them asking some crazy question to prove to their constituents that they are truly fighting for the people. Like Cory Booker is like the most obvious, like blatantly over rehearsed kind of like just I don't even know the right word to describe this guy, but he's out of his mind. But he's done a terrible job. Like the guy is his area is Newark, New Jersey, and I don't know if you guys ever been to Newark, New Jersey, but
it is. Yeah,
I haven't.
I'm from Philly.
You don't need to go there. So like,
it ain't no Trenton.
Yeah, you fly in there, and you get out. But whatever. Anyways, the point is that I think that what they're doing is they're saying a lot of things that are just like blatantly untrue. They're like, oh, this is unconstitutional, of which it's not. They're saying this is a sham, of which it's not. They're saying this is against what the people want, which it's not. Obviously, it's not, because like they're saying they're pushing this through before the election. Well, the election is not the end of his term. The end of the term is January 20th. So that means we're talking months of time. In the meantime, there are going to be a variety of different court cases that come before the Supreme Court. And when there are 8 justices and not 9, kind of what you're doing is you're doing a disservice to all of those court cases that now have a 4-4 or as opposed to a 5-4. So it almost like puts into question, not into question, but it makes it kind of is more unfair to the trials that are going to the Supreme Court. So that's one thing. Not to mention the fact that he's constitutionally entitled to do this. Not to mention the fact that the Democrats would do this if they had the votes to do it. They would have done the exact same thing. Like in the example of Merrick Garland, which they keep citing. Well, if they had the votes, they would have got him through, and they would have pushed it through if it was the day before the election. They don't care. So I think a lot of it is very hypocritical, and I think that it's a lot of name calling and a lot of childish exchange. And I think that the true winner of all of this is Amy Coney Barrett, because she is clowning them, and she's
so classy as well.
She's so smart. Like this,
they were attacking her, and she just kept her cool. And when she held up her paper and there was no writing on it, and that just showed she knew it all. That was great. And Kamala was so childish.
Yeah,
it was embarrassing to watch.
Yeah, exactly. She was. It's like a campaign. It's like a campaign video. She's like, "Oh, let me speak to the American people. Oh, like, do you believe it? Do you believe that smoking cigarettes causes cancer?" And she was like, "I don't know where you're going with this line of questioning," but she just like straight up clowned her. And I just think it shows how capable she is, how equipped she is, how sharp as a whip she is. And here's the other thing, which I think that people don't understand about how the Supreme Court works. Her opinion as a human being has nothing to do with how she will how she will vote and how she will judge. That's the whole purpose of a judge. And she said it, reiterated it so many times. She's like, my beliefs are not what happens. I follow the law. I'm not here to say this is Amy's world. She's like, I'm just going to follow the letter of the law, even if it goes against my personal beliefs. And for anyone to insinuate otherwise doesn't understand how the judicial branch works. And it's just, it's the most common thread that I see over and over again, which is people have a very basic surface level understanding of how things work, and then they draw all of their conclusions based on that. And then you have all of these people that weigh in with their opinions, how they feel, and it affects your surface level understanding. But people that have depth of understanding, the depth of knowing what is actually happening, what's really happening, that has no place in the conversation. Depth of understanding is never there. It's always surface level understanding, what they say and how it influences how I feel. And all of your opinions are dictated based on that. It's never based on depth. Like the lie that they keep saying about Joe Biden is not going to raise taxes on anybody that makes under $400,000 a year. It's just a flat out lie. You could prove it quite simply. It's like Donald Trump. You cut the Trump tax cuts, it raises those taxes. You raise capital gains tax. People under 400K pay capital gains tax. They want to tax buying and selling of stocks. That's people under 400K. I buy and sell stocks. I don't make $400,000 a year. So that's right there, just off the top. That's 3. Now you're talking payroll taxes. You're talking corporate. You're talking corporate taxes. All of those corporations are going to have to pay you less. That comes out of your paycheck. Boom, you're getting taxed as a result of the 400K. And then on top of all of that, when the way that the stock market works, for again people that don't have depth of understanding, the value of a stock today is the potential value of your future earnings. I am basing today's price on the value of your future earnings. For you to think that your future earnings are not going to go down as a result of the corporate taxes going up by 7%, going up by, I think it's like 33% would be the increase, and making it one of the highest in the world. If you don't think that the value of those stocks is going to go down, the value of their future earnings is going to go down as a result, which means 401ks go down, investment accounts go down, IRAs go down, private holdings in stock goes down. Everybody loses. And not only that, all of those companies that are making a profit could now go down to making no profit at all or losing, in which case those higher taxes are not even going to be administered because you can't tax just money, you tax profits. So it's just like everybody fucking loses, and depth of understanding is not there. And it's just so preposterous that they'll keep parroting the lie. And people are like, I don't make under 400K, eat the rich. Like, fuck.
Right. It's that knee-jerk reaction to lack of information. I mean, it's just people's fears. That knee-jerk reaction is a fear of lack of understanding. You know, people start to glaze over. You know, even in when politicians and everything talk about numbers like trillions of dollars and things like that, people have no understanding of what $1 trillion even is.
Yep.
So that glazing over, I think, comes from that gap of misunderstanding between the facts. You know, and that gap is where people are so programmed by the media to be, you know, the sheep, you know. Jimmy Sully saying, yes, Bobby, amen. Well put, Bobby. Getting a lot of good feedback in here. And I just want to give a couple quick shout outs here to some of the people that are here. Jimmy, Chrissy, Dr. Prez, everybody from all around the world. Angel, Girly Girl. So glad that you guys all are here. If you got any questions for Bobby, because this is a really good opportunity for you guys, who especially the people in the UK, right? Because Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of differences in the political situation that happens between England or the UK and the US.
To be honest,
you know,
though, I know more about what goes on in the US right now than the UK, because the US is the most important thing right now. Trump has to win, you know. This is not just an election. So I focus more on Donald Trump than I do my own prime minister, because I'm ashamed of my prime minister, to be honest with you. Like,
Bojo.
if I could be out there with you guys, like rallying for Trump, I'd do it every day. I would.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. It's cool because Instagram gives me insights and demographics of how many people are around the world. And only 90% of my followers are in the United States. So that 10% is like the number one after that is Canada. And Canada takes a lot of kind of marching orders from the US. And obviously there are economies and a variety of things are intertwined. But the second after that is the UK. And I've had people message me even from as far away as Australia, which is my third or fourth biggest. And they're like, your election dictates what's going to happen. And there's a lot
have you had a lot of that at the moment as well, because of what's going on in Melbourne and things? Because I've had a lot of people reach out to me saying, look, we need help, that the tyranny's really bad right now. Like,
yeah. And it's really, I follow Luke Rudkowski of wearechange.org. He's like one of my favorite guys to follow. I started following him back in like 2005 when he started talking about the 9/11 truth stuff. And this dude pumps out a lot of kind of really objective journalism about the truth and depth of truth. And I really like him a lot. And he constantly posts videos about how people like, you can make a Facebook post in Australia and they could come and arrest you in your house.
Oh yeah. They'll knock at your door. Yeah.
And they're they're like, you can't go outside of this 5-kilometer bubble, or they're beating you up. I mean, it's horrifying and frightening. And it is like, I mean, I don't know beyond what I see. So I try not to, and I always say this, I try not to weigh in on things that I don't know and can't validate to be true all the time. I just try to kind of shine the light on things that seem to be egregious. And like, from what I have seen, it looks like there's extreme overreach, extreme, like kind of like tyrannical or egregious rules that should really frighten us all. And I think that the other thing too is like, I think that what bothers me a lot is when people are like anti the other person in favor of the establishment. So for example, like eat the rich. The rich are citizens much like us, human beings much like us, if you want to get existential. But the point is that like, do you realize how difficult it is to make $1 billion? How many people you have to help, how many products and services that you have to create, how many jobs you have to create, how much money,
relationships, and
if it was easy to be rich, everybody would be fucking rich. But to just be like, raise taxes on them when we already know that the government squanders so much tax dollars as it is. Yet we want to take it from all the people that are working hard to provide products and services that we all love, as opposed to maybe like, I don't know, balancing the budget, like perhaps reducing the size of government bloat. Like Why is that not the topic of discussion? It's yet it's eat the rich. It just seems so preposterous. And again, it comes back to the depth of understanding. People don't understand the truth, and they don't understand to a level that's necessary. But as soon as they understand 10% of it, those people are the loudest, and they will yell about it and pontificate about it when they don't understand the bottom 90% of the iceberg. That is where all the truth really lies. And it's sad because those people are loud, and the people that truly understand are not. Because you know what they're doing? They're finding the truth, they're protecting themselves and their family, and they're going to work, and they're hustling and grinding to protect theirs. Those people are living off the government dole, or they're working they work till 5 and then they go home and yell and bullshit. They're not out there grinding like that. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so anti people that have gained success. It's just unfortunate, and I think it goes beyond eat the rich. It goes beyond everything, and it's like the government and limited government mean more freedom for all of us. And to think that we need to give them more power to create more freedom for us is backwards.
Yeah, I mean it's so true. I mean, and speaking of freedoms and disclosures and all the things that we're talking about, I really wanted us to touch on the Hunter Biden situation. I wanted to touch on Hunter Biden because I don't want to touch Hunter Biden. Okay, so Hunter is a fucking mess. Okay, yeah. I mean, look at these photographs that have come out. We've got some stuff from Giuliani saying. Yeah. Well, I believe that somebody put that in his mouth when he's sleeping, but rule number 1 is don't pass out around people you can't trust that you don't know. The worst that we used to do is if someone passed out drunk, we would draw on our friends. We're going to draw on Sharpies all over them. We're going to draw whatever on their face when they're passed out, So we've got Hunter Biden here. And what I wanted you, Bobby, to sort of talk about is how, and sort of educate some of our followers here, because a lot of them are in the UK. How does somebody like Hunter Biden affect national security with these items?
Well, first and foremost, what bothered me about what Joe Biden has said as it relates to his kids and Hunter specifically is he's just like, I trust my son. And it's like, all right, is that
great answer, Joe?
It's like, but is that an answer? And yeah, obviously you trust him. We understand that you trust him, and I would expect him to stand up for a family member. But I mean, we can see from the outside just the things that he's been caught. For example, when I was in high school and in college, whatever, before I dropped out of college, there's a lot of things that I did where I potentially broke the law, smoking weed, or maybe drinking a couple beers and maybe driving home because I don't want, there was no Ubers at that time. And I'm not proud of those things, but I would consider myself to be a fairly intelligent person. And you could say oh, I didn't get caught because of white privilege. All right, well, Hunter Biden is white as well. So when you think about the amount of things that Hunter Biden has been caught for, right? Think about how that compares to the actual amount of things that he's actually done. Right. So it's just this is just what's verifiably true. Yeah. This is just what we got. Imagine the depth of that.
There's so much more to come.
Yeah, and it's here's the other thing, and again, I don't mean to label anybody or make broad generalizations, but for example, friends of mine that have gotten a DUI, that wasn't the first time they drove drunk, and it probably wasn't the last time that they drove drunk. Yeah. So but you got caught for one. So it's
only one.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying? So the point is you probably drove drunk a variety.
Absolutely.
And you may have done a lot of other things, but that just happened to be the thing that you got caught for. So it's not that I can look deeper beyond that and draw conclusions, but it's just if Hunter Biden didn't smoke meth or have a crack pipe or whatever you want to say, he was in a room with a guy that had a crack pipe. I don't have any friends that smoke crack or meth, and I certainly don't hang out with them, and I certainly don't fall asleep in proximity for them to be there. So though I'm not suggesting that I know the truth or depth of that, it was still there. And if you look at what happened to him in the military, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's if this was a person,
he was discharged from the Navy.
Yeah, if you were about to go kick it with a group of kids or a group of people, and you knew that one of them was unfavorable, you still have the decision to go and hang out with that person. For example, when I was in high school, I had a roommate, and my my roommate wanted to invite over this guy that had been kicked out of school, that had gone to prison, that had been arrested. And I didn't really trust this cat. And he wanted to invite this guy over. And I'm like, look, you just moved in, like maybe let's not have this kid around right now. Like there's stuff everywhere. I don't really know this dude, whatever. I'd only heard bad things. That didn't mean that I knew it was bad things. I just didn't want him in my house right now. Doesn't mean that I know. It's just like, I'm going to draw the conclusion to try to avoid staying out of harm's way. My roommate at the time tells the guy like, yo, Sauce doesn't want you to come over, because he thinks whatever, which was probably not the fucking best thing. Could have come up with any other variety of things. Point is, next time I saw this cat at a party, the dude's in my face, swearing at me, trying to fight with me and shit. And I'm like, this is why I didn't want this motherfucker around me. You know what I mean? Because I have critical thinking skills. And it's just the same thing. It's like life in a lot of ways is a result of the decisions that you make day to day, moment to moment. And I choose not to hang around people that could potentially get me into a dicey situation. And that's critical thinking skills. That's a type of rationality that one might have that for them to gain my trust. So it's just like, if you look at Hunter Biden and what he has done, and I was going to go chill with a group of people and I saw he was going to be there, I'd be like, maybe I don't go to that. Maybe I don't hang around with this dude. So it's just like, and it's not only him, like, I had some friends talk about his cousin, and his cousin was arrested for DUI and has had another issue. Not that DUI is this horrible bad thing, but there's a lot of other underlying issues beyond that I'm not going to talk about because I can't validate them. But it's just like, you gotta wonder. And then you look at this stuff and you look at the evidence, and then you look at his connections to all these foreign entities. And then you look at this coming out, and then you look at the photos, and you look at his history, and you look at the track record, and then you look at the questions that they asked to Joe Biden, and he just blatantly says, like, we never talked about it. Here's pictures of him with it. Here's emails validating with it. Here's clear evidence that this happened. But I trust my son. It's just like, as a human being, you look at it, you're like, I don't know if I trust these dudes.
He lied about Hunter being kicked out of the Navy as well. He said it didn't happen. He barefaced lied when there's evidence of it.
Yeah. Well, what Donald Trump said that was incorrect is Donald Trump said that he got dishonorably discharged, which I believe is not actually true. What Trump was saying, which is kind of like just a common Trumpism, is what he means is that he was discharged and it was dishonorable that he was discharged, but he wasn't dishonorably discharged.
Not in the technical sense.
Right.
So now what we have is a situation.
Damn it,
We have a situation now. So getting back to that question, which is, from some of the stuff that Giuliani was saying, how can this compromised politician's son affect our national security with the Chinese, with the Russians, with whatever factions are out there? So what do you think about that? How is that would that affect, their position?
I think that I don't want to just flat out say like, all right, Joe's out, because every person is entitled to their own individual behaviors and actions. So I don't want to say that Joe Biden necessarily needs to be counted out as a result of this. And Hunter Biden is a separate individual. And if Eric Trump got caught doing the same thing, I wouldn't want somebody to count out Trump as a result of that. So I think that it certainly is questionable. I think that it certainly deserves monitoring, and I think that it would be in all of our best interest for him to be, at the very least, I don't know, I guess you could say monitored. I don't know the technical explanation, but
why do you think he hasn't gotten ahead of it? Like, don't you think that this is the type of thing that you have to jump out in front of? Like, I think you were talking about this in one of your videos, right?
Yesterday.
You were mentioning getting out in front of this thing. What do you think of that?
I think that it's the fact that these people are people that we've never met and maybe will never met, and we only see their digital imprint online and videos and whatnot. I think that you got to realize that, like, a human being is a human being. And how would I act in that situation? And more importantly, how would a leader act in that situation? If something came out about me or a family member of mine that was patently untrue, I would be absolutely ripping to get out there and get in front of it and comment on it right away. Now, I understand that you got to take some time to formulate your message so that it's clear. And you certainly don't want to, as we were talking about offline, you don't want to necessarily give light to something that maybe someone doesn't know about. He doesn't want to come on his Twitter and be like, yo, that New York Post article. And then all those people that don't know about it are like, wait, what New York Post article? So
what? Yeah,
I understand that logic as well. However, when it's the top line news article and we're 19 days out from the election, you kind of like don't have the luxury of doing that at this time. If the election was 9 months away, maybe. And if you weren't running for president of the United States, okay, maybe if you were a corporate leader or something. But to think you got 19 days and you've got this super sketchy thing, it's just like, not to mention,
you definitely want to address it.
Yeah, and like you've got press people, like nothing that's coming out of his mouth is just coming out of his mouth. That stuff's all rehearsed and planned.
Right.
So to think you wouldn't use your top shelf press team to formulate a response right away. I mean, I'm not a PR person. I don't know how that stuff works. But my assumption would be, as a human being and as a person at this very specific moment in time, you would think that that'd be something that you'd want to address head on and be like, especially if it were not true.
Exactly. I mean, celebrities get involved in fender benders, and they got their publicists already out making the statements, setting up how they're going to respond. This is a sweep it under the rug, and hopefully they get lucky, and the timing won't drop on their heads in front of the entire world before the election. I wanted to mention something. I know that I wanted you to sort of mention your website, and I know you have some really great merchandise.
Yes.
Also. That you got going. So I would like for you to talk about that for a second, because I know you got bobbysauce.com.
That's right. Yeah.
So bobbysauce.com. I put that in the chat room.
Thank you.
Do you have anything that you could show us for some of the viewers that you have in your merch line right by you by any chance?
Oh, yeah.
So we can have a look.
This is the hat. This is
love it.
This is the Flex Fit hat.
Amazing.
I've got a bunch of like all of my Bobbyisms, all of my sayings I put on the hat, like jabroni, Billy the Diddler, dehydrated out, Governor dehydrated out, Governor Gaslight, and then I also got the face diaper.
Oh yeah, we got Chrissy saying she ordered her face diaper mask today. We got some people that have ordered some of those on. So go to bobbysauce.com and make sure you get some of that. And do you put up some of your content there as well?
Yeah, so people were kind of like beating down my door for my door for merch, and like none of my stuff is monetized right now. I have no sponsors or anything like that. I'm still I suppose you could say fairly new on the rise of attention. So I don't have any sponsors. There's no income that comes in, and people were beating down my door for merch. So I was like, hey, if this is something that allows me to take some time and attention away from my existing businesses that I have to do to stay afloat and make money, and then I can put more attention into these videos, and people are willing to support me, and not only that, they're like begging me to make it, then I'll make it. And I was able to generate enough revenue that I was like, you know what, now I can take a little bit more time to put towards the videos, more time to do stuff like this during the day, and if people are supporting it. So yeah, when people go to bobbysauce.com and pick up merchandise, it supports me in a major way, and it allows me to make more videos, because that's my only Bobby Sauce related stream of income right now, and that support means a lot, and it's going to allow me to do more of this stuff, hopefully in higher volume, growing, until the end of time. I would love for that to be what I do. It's a yelling my phone and talking.
We got a question for Maddie here.
Yep.
About it's not about Trump, but he's talking about Boris, and is it possible that Boris isn't actually calling the shots and his hands are tied? I mean, that's
yeah, it is quite possible. I mean, I'll go back to what I said. I think it was on the last show about how he didn't want to lock us down at first, and he said he wasn't going to do it at all. This is like back when it first happened, and then the day afterwards, he locked us down, and it was like something or someone had got to him that night. And when you see Matt Hancock, he's got connections with the WHO and Bill Gates, so I do think there is a lot of deep state control within the British government right now.
We've also got some videos that have come out. I don't know if you've seen these, Bobby, but there's some videos from a guy named Alan Perot, who is a ex-CIA agent, and he is putting out some statements that he has materials, he has statements, he has documents, videos, phone calls, all tracked. And I've posted some of these documents that they put out about the communication between the Iranian government and the United States in regards to what happened with bin Laden and his possibly being hidden by the U.S. government. Do you have any thoughts on this topic about bin Laden and what's going on right now? Do you think it's possible?
I was asked about this in a live stream a couple nights ago. Let me start first by saying this. As we know, there's only so much time in the day, and so many people send me different materials. And what I said in the last live stream, which is how I kind of approach this, is that I try to focus on things that are verified and verifiably true, or have been fact checked, and I can speak on with some degree of certainty. So on this specific topic, I haven't invested enough time that I could speak eloquently and with any degree of fact or understanding to whether or not that is the case. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention to it and it's not in my mind. But again, I try to, like I always talk about focusing on the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. Like 20% of your efforts creates 80% of your results. So I try to look at like, what is the highest and best use of my time? And this story is certainly in the hopper for me. And it's something that's worth considering. But because it hasn't made its way further through, it makes me say like, okay, what can I think about, talk about, pay attention to, and understand that is more validated. Now, to go to it, do I think that that's possible? Sure. I mean, really, I believe that anything's possible. My general ethos on life is question everything. I totally believe that to be true about all things, all the time, forever. That could be anything from health and government to things that you're used to, even things that you say yourself. Like question yourself and your own beliefs about something.
Oh, yeah.
Did you come to that conclusion because it's fact, or did you get conditioned? You'd be surprised.
Are you reacting emotionally, or
Right. Yeah.
You'd be surprised how much your own mind changes when you hang around with a group of people that think a certain way. So it's like, we always got to question what's going on. Now, I know that in the case of him being killed, I don't know that I've seen any video, or I don't know if any such video exists of it actually occurring. That's number one. Number two, I know that they threw his body, whatever, off that plane. I remember seeing that. And they were saying that it was because they didn't want to bury him somewhere and make him like a martyr. Let's all go to this site and praise this cat. I understand that. And also, I think that conversely, him and his family were verifiably working with the United States government years before 9/11. And his family and the United States government, the CIA, had connections. And he was like, and I don't know the depth of those connections, but I know based on my research that they had connections, and he was like, they were connected in some way, their families were. And then they basically like kind of like turned on him at some point, or turned on them. I've heard many stories, and again, I don't know the facts of this, but like on 9/11, when all the flights were shut down, that a flight of his family supposedly left DC at that time. I don't know about that, but I've heard stories about that. So I do believe that anything is possible. I don't necessarily know for sure, like, did they toss his body in the ocean? I don't know. I don't know that any of us could validate that. But one thing that I said in the live stream the other night is like, to me, there's certain things that maybe that the people will never know or won't know for a long time. So, for example, let's say that they didn't throw his body, and let's say that it actually was him. What if they made him a prisoner? What if they made him an informant? What if they made him a something? What if he actually was dead, and then they wanted to dissect his brain and see if there was any chemicals in there? Like, how could someone be so horrible? How could someone mastermind this? What if he became, you know what I mean? Like, what if he became an instrument? I don't know. And are they going to come out and be like, by the way, we got Bin Laden and he's fucking ratting on everybody? You know, I don't know. So I haven't done enough of depth of research that I could speak on it with any degree of understanding. So I don't know, but I'm always open to hearing things. And do I strike anything out as being not possible? Absolutely not. And I think that there's been more than enough evidence of obfuscation of the truth, mistruth, and things that have been like in
misdirection for sure.
In the interest of protecting the people has been
national security.
So, it's like, I don't know. And unfortunately, I think that only time will tell as it relates to those things, but I certainly wouldn't rule out anything as not possible. And I think when you look into CIA studies and the types of experiments that they ran on like mind control and a variety of other things like 50, 60 years ago, imagine what's happening today in the present moment, like imagine the depth of that. And then when you look at like what Edward Snowden said, and Edward Snowden's like, yeah, you could just like tap into fucking anything at any moment without anything, no warrants, nothing. It's like, holy fucking hell. I just think that like absolutely anything is possible. I wouldn't rule anything out, but I don't know about that specific case.
Well, from a U.S. point of view, and from what we're seeing in the States, and Maddie, I think you've seen a lot of this too, is that Florida is ahead of the curve as far as being, lifted and no masks. And hey, Lisa Vargas on right here. How you doing? Good to see you, Lisa. And not wearing masks. So how does that feel?
You know,
Yeah, I'm jealous.
great.
I'm jealous.
I just want to know.
I'll tell you this. Everybody, it's so funny because I strongly dislike kind of like blanket statements about groups or locations or people. Like when people are like, everybody in California is blank, or everybody in New York is blank, or everybody in whatever, making these broad generalizations, or every guy that does X is such and such.
Right.
I don't like those types of things. But generally speaking, I think that Florida man and Florida is ostracized as kind of being like the idiot, kind of like the penis of America that just like hangs there and sucks. And I think that a lot of the country looks at Florida as like everybody's dumb in Florida. And here's the thing. A lot of Florida is very rural, very like deep South. A lot of the state of Florida is very like central Florida. Like there's lots of people in there and it's very rural land. And it's like, it's not like what you would think of like, like you're like a Texas farmer, but or even a heartland farmer. But there's like lots of farms. There's orange farms. There's tree farms.
Oh yeah,
so Florida is a fucking huge place. There's tens of millions of people here, 20 million people, I think, in the state of Florida. So it's a huge place, and it's generally like, all right, everybody in Florida is dumb. But South Florida, where I live, is like a much more urban, highly intelligent, highly informed type of place. And the reason for that is because there's lots of tourism. And there's lots.
You're living in the Will Smith song area, basically.
Yeah.
So you're living in a more city kind of,
Yeah, so it's like it's more similar and more akin to like a large American city. So Florida as a whole generally gets shit on by a lot of other places as being unintelligent, when there's a whole lot of Florida that is not that way. And even the central part of Florida, why? Because they don't believe in your like big city bullshit. I don't know. I certainly wouldn't suggest that they're stupid. And here's the other thing: there's stupid people everywhere. But so it's just so funny that Florida is this like bastion of freedom, and that Ron DeSantis had the balls to stick up for the state of Florida and go against all of this bullshit. And it's just a perfect example of like the general disposition of people is oftentimes not as accurate as it may seem. And people are like, everyone in Florida's dumb. Yet all of a sudden we happen to figure this shit out when everybody else didn't. I mean, isn't that funny? So it's just really interesting. And like, for example, another thing that I realized about Florida is like a lot of people have predispositions about Florida that have never been here. When I lived in the Northeast, I was always like, Florida's too hot. There's fucking alligators,
snowbirds.
The summer sucks. The summer sucks, and there's going to be hurricanes. I'm going to die from hurricanes. Here's a couple of fun facts. I've been here for 10 years. I never seen an alligator in the fucking wild, not one time. I kayak in the rivers. I've never seen one once. I've seen one in a zoo. Every once in a while, it was at some park.
How about a manatee? You ever see a manatee?
Yes, I have. Right down the street.
Those are cool.
So the second thing is like, it's really beautiful here. Florida is the only tropical climate in the United States. The weather here is beautiful. It's certainly more beautiful than any place that I've ever been in the United States. The humidity that everybody seems to hate is great. It's great for your skin. It feels really good. It may make it like harder to breathe if you go for a jog in the middle of the day. But it's beautiful here, and the weather is really beautiful here all year round. On top of all that stuff, there's a lot of really smart people here, and it's a really great place to live. And the ocean water here is I think objectively warmer, cleaner, and more beautiful than the ocean water in California and a lot of other places.
A little emerald tone to it down there.
Yeah, and it's just like it's a really beautiful place. So it's just funny because everybody has these preconceived notions about what it is, and it actually is the opposite. And it's just funny that we happen to be so free. Not only that, we don't have state income tax. You save a whole ton of money on state income tax by being here, property taxes and things like that. And it's just a great place to live. So it's just funny that like here we are like leading the charge of freedom, and Ron DeSantis deserves a lot of credit for that.
Awesome. Well, something that Maddie and I do discuss a lot, we talk about it a lot, is we talk about how, there's the Antifa BLM issue that we have in the U.S. I wanted to touch on some of your thoughts of that, because you could probably also, with some of your research, shed some light on actually how this works. Do you feel that BLM and Antifa are one and the same? Do you feel that these groups need to be denounced by the left, as we have denounced on the right the supremacy? And getting into this whole BLM thing, I'm kind of curious: is there room for the term Black supremacy with these groups that are working, which are mostly of white people, but they have some very militant founders and things like that? What are your thoughts on those?
I think that like Antifa I think it's more than evident that these people are anarchists, and a lot of the time they're funded by a lot of questionable actors. And I think that if you look at all the things that they've done and the behavior that they've exhibited, I mean, they're not anti-fascist at all. And what they're doing is they're rioting, they're looting. And here's the other thing: is like, people are smart, and all you have to do if you want to just go out and loot is be like, oh, like, I'm Antifa. I'm gonna go take these.
Let me just put on a black hoodie.
Right. And like, I've heard other things, like people have been like, hey, like, what's to stop 50 people from wearing Trump hats and fucking shit up and then being like,
right,
Trump supporters. So it's just like, you can't fucking, you don't know about that now. So let's leave Antifa aside, because I think that there's a lot of evidence that suggests that these people are militants, and they're all ultimately doing things that I think all of us can agree are bad. You know, they're just, these are not burning private property, damaging people, hurting people. Who the fuck endorses that? I don't care who you're voting for. That's fucking ridiculous.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's sad. And now, so let's go to like Black Lives Matter, for example. That's a more organized whatever. They have a list of their demands and their credo and the website, and they're fucking getting millions and millions of dollars from huge corporations. That's a little bit different than like Antifa. I think that's an easier one to target. If you look at the leaders of BLM, and when they've been interviewed online they openly say, like, we're trained Marxists. There's like videos of them saying, like, we're a trained Marxist group. A lot of the stuff that they want is very socialist in nature. I think that they are trying to dictate policy through mob rule and through force, which I don't think is very helpful. I think that these protests are often very not peaceful, even though they want to suggest that they are. And like Michelle Obama being like, most of them are peaceful. It's like, all right. Yeah, the building is on fucking fire behind you, but all right. So I think that if you look at their like policies as explained on their website, a lot of that shit is really bad, and like a lot of the things that they said point blank on their website is like not good. And then when you think that these people have millions and millions of dollars, like, what are the Black lives that they're supposedly supporting? I don't know. Like, why is that money not being used to actually do that? So I think that it's just a lot of deception, because we all agree around the fucking planet, for the vast majority of people, that Black lives matter. Nobody was out here thinking that they don't. And obviously there's racists of all kinds. There's black racists. There's racists of all kinds. You can't stop people from being fucking people. And you can't say that it's everybody. But I don't think that people don't think that Black lives matter. And it's one of those things where it's like word trickery, where it's just like, oh, you don't believe in Black Lives Matter? It's like, no, Black Lives Matter. I just don't like Black Lives Matter, the organization, or what you guys follow and believe in. So I think that like they've taken it really far. I don't know that they've done as much good as they suggest that they're doing. I think that a lot of Black people see through their bullshit. And I think that that's something I think that's a little bit of a cause for concern. And I think if you watch them get interviewed on, like, for example, I've watched interviews of them on like mainstream news outlets, and like what these people are saying is nuts. It's nuts. And they're just like, oh, if we don't get our way, we're going to burn this motherfucker to the ground. And like on the Daily Show, Trevor Noah's like, look at this black queen saying that if we don't get our way, we'll burn this Target down. What the fuck, dude? That's a
he's a real paid opposition. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, it's just like, and it's just really unfortunate, because you don't see that as often, or maybe at all. I don't want to say at all, but you don't see that from the other side, where it's like, if we don't get our way, we're gonna fight. We're gonna burn things. We're gonna damage things. You don't see that, and it's just like, I just think that destruction as a means of getting your point across is poor. And I think that the reality of all this is that we elected all of these senators and House of Representatives and sheriffs and all of these things. So if we're mad at them, we just have to have a little bit of patience and know that it's up to us to change the future. The fact that you're mad right now doesn't mean that you just burn it down. Go and use that money to run for office. Go and use that money to rally the support. Go and be intelligent. But again, intelligence and depth of thinking has no place in the conversation. It's all about who's loud, who's mad, who can instill the emotion to get you to do something. Not about who understands with depth. Depth Depth is a thought in the breeze, and no one cares about the depth. All they care about is the emotion, surface level emotion, because the reality,
and that fear. It's coddled. The fear is coddled, and it is exacerbated by that lack of knowledge, that gap of understanding between people. I mean, we all would love to be happy, joyous, and free and frolic, throughout the world. I mean, I remember a time when I was a little kid where you can go out and not worry about being abducted or being beaten or stuff like that. You just go out in the neighborhood.
It's a lot safer.
Yeah, the thing that sucks is that the reality of all this is that nobody wants to think about this. Like, you don't just like inherently wake up in the morning and be like, let me watch like some policy. Fucking, like you're not doing that. Like, you want to watch The Simpsons, you know what I mean? Like, people don't generally want that. And I think the most obvious point of that is like, because what it does is it creates a divide between people that are knowledgeable on the topic, understand, have the depth of understanding, and there's a lot of emotion there. So like, I think the most obvious example of this is like, think about if you were at like a party or in your early 20s, everybody goes to the bar and they drink. What happens when you drink at the bar? Everybody becomes dumb. Collectively, we're all dumb. We're all a little silly. We're all a little loose. Now we're all at the same level. So now we can all bullshit with each other because nobody's higher or lower, right? We're all dumb.
All equal.
So if we were to actually be there talking, it would be like, oh, these people are a little bit smarter, or these people understand this topic with more depth. Therefore, it creates this like divide. So the easiest way to like socialize is to be at the same level. And like alcohol, for example, is one of those things that's like an equalizer. So it means that like all of that stuff is now bad. Let's not talk about that. Let's all be the same, which I understand. And it's like, it's anti-socialization. It's anti-keep the important shit out. It's like, it's all about that living. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's like, I don't want to think about this shit. And it makes me upset that like my friends will see this and be like, this guy, fuck this dude. And like, I'm sure I've lost friends already that maybe haven't told me or have, that are like, this dude's too much. Like, let's not invite Bobby. He's going to fucking talk about the president or something, So it's just like, it's unfortunate because it's not part of the conversation, because that depth of understanding is not popular, and that this is not fun shit to talk about. And it's super easy for any person at any level of their life to be like, you know what? I don't pay attention to that shit. I try to live my life, take care of myself, my family, try to be happy. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. And I, in a lot of ways, it's like you wish that you could do that. But when you have the depth of understanding and you see it affecting your life in real time, you're like, all right, fine, fuck, I'm gonna look into this now. Like, oh, my tax dollars are being fucking squandered. Like, this sucks. Like, I have to. Like, I'm obligated to. And then once you feel obligated to because you see the truth and you've done some of your own research, maybe just for yourself, then you realize that, like, wait a second, if I don't fucking do this, no one does this. Then the wolves run the coop. And then imagine what could happen later. Then it becomes a dare to be great. Then it becomes a patriotic call. Then it becomes a like, how do I leave the world a better place? Wait a second. This is way bigger than I thought. This is the biggest this could be the most significant thing to ever exist in the fucking history of time. Who's going to be the president in 30 years? What if it has to be fucking me? And that's the type of realization that you have as you start to get deeper. It's like, I need to do this, because here's the thing. All the great things that have ever happened in history have happened by people that had that call, that were like, I got to fucking do this because I see it. And I think that a lot of the times, not to just fucking gas Donnie Baseball up, but like, this dude didn't need to run for president. He objectively lost a fuck ton of money as a result of running for president. You could just look. His buildings down in value, the golf courses, every single thing, every fucking person on the planet liked this cat before. And now half of the fucking world thinks he's a racist, bigot, xenophobic piece of shit, and will think that way for the rest of his life. Think about the money that he's going to lose as a result, right? Think about the financial loss, not only for him, but for his family over time. Think about the depth of that. So then when you think of that, you're like, why is this dude doing this instead of sitting on a beach in Central Pay with his fucking supermodel wife and his family in his golden years? Why is he doing it? Because he fucking saw that this was what he had to do. I am the most uniquely equipped person on the planet right now to fucking do this. And that, to me, is more of an indicator of why this dude deserves our support more than anything the fuck else. And I don't see
100%.
that from Joe fucking Biden, and I don't see that from Hillary Clinton, and I don't see that from, quite frankly, most fucking people. So it's just like I have like the depth of respect that I have for him for that pure fact alone as a human being is like, dude, this dude is like, imagine what this guy is doing right now. And then it's inspiring to somebody like me, because my whole life I was like, I didn't go to Yale, Harvard. I dropped out of college. I had considered myself to be intelligent. I consider myself to be a leader, but I never thought I could be the president. I'd have to go through all these fucking things. Now, once Donald Trump got elected, I'm like, I could be the president. And even if I'm not, I have to think on that level. I have to think of how significant I could be, that my thoughts and beliefs could improve and ripple through the fabric of human existence until the end of time. And that's the type of shit, that's the type of power that this dude has and that position has. And to me, that is the reason why I do anything. That's why I pay attention to anything. It's like, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? And what the fuck are we doing? Because this is not good. And I certainly don't want to dismiss and give my authority and power and my ability to make the world a better place to some other person that could, in theory, not have the same morality, belief, and trajectory that I believe that I do. That's why I'm saying shit. And that's
Bobby 2024 in the chat room. Bobby 2024, we got in the chat room just now.
I hear that often. No.
Well,
I think about that. I think about it. Not in 2024, because I believe that I need to have more depth of wisdom. And I'll be
I'm need a couple grays.
Yeah, I'm 33. I'm not gonna act like by 2024 I'm equipped to do that. But later in life, with absolute certainty, I mean, if that's what I believed was the call that was necessary, if that's what I believed was the highest and best use of my existence, I would like to think that I would step up and do that. I didn't serve in the military. I didn't do something that I would consider to be heroic up until this point in my life. And it's like, I've done things that have taken care of myself, my family, my social circle, my friends, whatever, me. But like, have I given back at that level? And when I think about giving back, as much as I think that going to the local soup kitchen is very important and giving back to my people in my community, imagine the macroeconomic give back of that, of being a leader to that degree. And to me, that's like the ultimate call. And if I could see myself through a trajectory that could potentially get me to that level of influence, like, how could I not follow that? And who knows? I'm gonna steal one of Kamala Harris's lines, and I'm gonna say that's a great segue into what I wanted to ask you, because we're kind of going to wrap up here in a couple minutes. And again, Bobby, thank you so much for coming out and bringing your point of view, a very solid political point of view, delivered in a completely unhinged way that we can understand. We can understand very clearly, and we love it. Thank you.
So my maybe just like a final thought for you is, if you could just share some of your thoughts on if you were to be able to give somebody any kind of guidance or advice, because there are some people that are stuck in the middle and they're lost and they don't know which way to look right now. And they look towards people like us for some information. So I want to just open up the floor to you and say, hey, is there something that you wanted to say to really get maybe more personal message of how people can find themselves kind of the way you did, in that kind of sense?
Well, I may go on a little bit of it. That's a deep question. I love it. I'll try to condense. I say this often to people that ask me for like an opinion or whatever, guidance, whatever you want to call it, like that. I say this kind of often. This is the only example that I have to cite from is my own experience. I don't know, and my path is going to be different than everyone else's path. I'm not going to act like this is the way. All I can do is give you my way, and that's the best that I can do, because that's the one that I know in and out. For me, it began when I was 18 years old, and I tried to figure out, like, what do I want out of life? Who am I? What is this? And what I realized is that I would rather be no other person in no other place at no other time ever in the existence of time other than me in this body right now with this. I would like to have these parents be in this location, have this hair, this facial hair, this face, this nose, these arms, these legs, this whatever, right? I have everything that I could ever want, right? I'm in America, like another thing. So I was like, look at all these advantages. If I can't do it, who can't, right? Or who can? So that was one thing. It's like introspective thought, depth of introspective thought. Like look at all of these things I have. Look at the beauty of life. Look at this fucking trees. There's a fucking bird. I'm on this kayak. This is the shit. This is the shit, right? So it's just like life is the most beautiful thing ever in the history of time. It's just a fucking amazing. The fact that you're even here is insane.
The odds of it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like gratitude.
Amazing.
Gratitude, thankfulness for life. So it's like first gratitude. Then to believe that the world is not necessarily what it seems. So it's just like, how did I get here? Why am I here? What is God? What is real? What is true? What is fake? Well, like certainly I know that there's something beyond this. I don't know what it is. I don't know that it's Jesus, Muhammad, Allah. I don't know. But I just know that there's something. I don't know what it is, but it's something and it's beautiful. And here I am. Thank you for giving me this, right? So then it's like, okay, what is the highest and best use of my existence? How do I leave it all on the field, so to speak, as my high school football coach would say? You leave it all on the field. Another great quote from a friend of mine. It's like, don't let the music die on your lips. It's just like, how do I give everything I have to this? Once you determine like, okay, now I understand who I am, introspective thought, depth, gratitude for life. Now, how do I be the highest and best version of myself? Everybody should read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Amazing. Your personal journey. What is your legend? What is the highest and best thing that you could do? If you die, it's just like he did everything that he could do. He or she. Okay, so now it's like, now call to greatness. What's this call to greatness? Now it's like, how do I get there? What do I want my life to look like? How do I plan my life? So it's just like, what do I want to do for work? What's the most important thing to me in my entire life? And establishing what's the most important thing to you in your entire life is the core of all discovery of all things. So to me, I established in my mind that the most important thing to me in life was freedom. That's it. Freedom of time, freedom of thought, freedom of mind, freedom of movement, freedom of work, freedom from money, freedom from everything. Freedom is the pillar of all of my beliefs. So it's like, I need freedom. How do I get freedom? In order to have freedom, especially freedom of time, I need to have money. How do I get that money? I want to be free of a boss. I want to be free of entanglements. So it's like, first I have to be self-employed. I have to be an entrepreneur. I have to figure out how to be autonomous and figure out how to generate cash on my own independently from now until forever with no reliance on others. That's pure freedom. So, okay, pure self-reliance, entrepreneurship. Okay, what do I not want to do? What do I not want to do in life? I don't want to work outside. I don't want to work with my body. I don't want to work lifting shit because sooner or later I can't lift it. Now I'm out of a job. So now it's like I have to use my mind. My mind has to be my instrument. That's my instrument of acquiring freedom. So it's like, okay, I got to be a thought. How do I work independently by myself as an entrepreneur using my thought to make revenue and make cash so that I can be free? Okay. What's around me? What's happening right now? I really love computers. I love art. I love creativity. I'm like, all right, internet. The internet's going up. Here, I identified something that I knew was going up because I could just, I got eyes. So I'm like, all right, internet is the tool. Entrepreneurship and freedom is the goal. How do I use the internet to create entrepreneurship and freedom so I can be free for the rest of my life? So it was like, all right, I'm going to build websites. I loved websites. I love graphic design. I love business in general. I'm going to build websites. That's how I'm going to create my freedom. It's going to get me to the next step. Started building websites, created a small business, did side hustles, scraped the gum off of the floor at grocery stores until I was able to get enough money together until I could start my web development business. All the while, building up all of my other skills. Okay, in order to be wealthy and have more freedom, I have to understand how to get as much money as possible because money is an instrument and a tool that will help me facilitate and protect my freedom forever. How do I get more money? In order to get something, get a lot of it, you have to be passionate about it. You have to love it. So I have to start loving money. So I started falling in love with money. Then money led me to, wait, where does money come from? Federal Reserve, depth of truth, understanding that. Then you get into government. Government now, wait, government has control over the money and the Federal Reserve, all this. Then you get into the truth and understanding. In order to understand and love money, you need to know all of the inner workings of how it goes up and down. That gets you to politics. That gets you to economy. That gets you to the origins and sources of money. That gets you to investing. That gets you to the stock market. That gets you into more and more self-discovery and more passion of self-reliance, entrepreneurship, building up and growth. Then it became like, all right, now how do I get to what I was just talking about the direction and the trajectory of life to the highest and best version of yourself? Well, you have to be truly authentically you, and you have to look straight in to the thing that makes you fearful the most. And to me, it's like, I want to speak up about this shit, but I don't want people to kill me. I don't want the deep state to fucking murder me. So, but it's like on the other end of that fear.
Neither do we.
Yeah, right.
On the other end of that fear is the authentic self. And I was like, if I just die, not being funny and being creative and putting myself out there and taking this risk, I lose. The music dies on my lips. So it's just like, take all of that self-discovery.
Great phrase.
And it's just like, there it is. All right. So now it's like, then it's like respond to signals. What's really important in business, which never really hit me until as hard as it has until now, is like, you got to respond to what people respond back to you. Give me more of this. I want more of this. Responding to the audience, getting that feedback and taking into consideration. So my response to the feedback and my focusing on only the highest and best use of my time led me to creating more content that people wanted, building up that following and getting to conversations like this. And then could this one day lead to a place that's higher and stir it up bigger? And then it's a political position, then it's a thought leader, then it's influence, then it's power, then it's like all of these things that could be a big source of
Senator Sauce.
Yeah.
Then it's senatorsauce.com.
Right. Got a ring to it.
So I just think that, like, if you start with the introspective self-discovery, highest and best use of your time, what is the most important thing in life? Where do I think that I need to go to be heroic? And then you start paying attention to things like the government and politics and the economy and whatever is important in your life as it surrounds that kind of pillar of focus. Now, if everything that I've said, if that aligns with you, then the most crucial thing to all things, my web development business, the government, money, whatever, is just self-research, self-reliance, self-discovery of truth all the time, always about everything forever. And getting yourself around people that are intelligent, that don't necessarily only think the way that you think, but can help challenge you, and not being afraid to cut people out that cause you to go down to meet them, as opposed for them rise up to meet you. I think that's really important. If it's like, you gotta, if I'm going nuclear, if I'm going top, if I'm trying to be the best there ever was, the best I could ever do it, I need people that are moving at the same speed as me. Because if I'm moving at 10 miles an hour and you're moving at 9 miles an hour, we're going to be close together for a while. But eventually I'm going to be 10 miles ahead of you. And I'm going to have to either slow down for you to meet me, or I'm going to have to leave you in the dust, because what's ahead of me may be someone that's running at 11. And I got to work to catch up to them. And imagine what good could happen as a result of me catching up to them. So it's just like, you got to have that belief. That another great quote that I love is like, in order to lead the orchestra, you have to be willing to face your back to the crowd. And another one is, if you want to be part of the 1%, you have to ignore the 99%. And it's just like, I can't let anyone get in the way of my core goal, freedom, my objective, heroism, and the highest and greatest version of myself. And to me, those pillars, as it relates to just how you should drive your life, if you follow those, all of the rest of the stuff becomes evident. If you just research, become a student of being passionate about the things that will get you there, all the rest of the stuff falls into place.
Well, that sounds amazing. And I'm really glad that you came on today. Thank you so much for coming. Bobby Sausalito, guys. This is Bobby Sauce. I want y'all to go to bobbysauce.com. Get yourself some great merch from there. I want you to, everybody here who's not, all our UK friends, please go ahead and follow Take Naps. And you're going to see a lot of great material. This is really a guy who's a patriot. He's come out and he is saying, he is speaking his truth, and he is doing everything that Americans should right now. You know, American patriots should be lending their voice. And, you know, we got to wrap it up in a couple minutes. Maddie, what do you have going on right now that you got?
I was just going to say, the other thing to add to that is he's a funny guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
learn delivering this in a way that we can understand. Yeah.
You know,
he actually takes
with a laugh. It's good.
Yeah. So when you're taking these advanced concepts and you're putting into a comedic form, I think that's really the best way to bring understanding, is through laughter, love, and hope. You know, so I really, really appreciate you being here today. Hang out in the lobby for a second, and then we'll just do a little follow-up chat before you go. But thank you so much for coming on. Everybody say bye-bye to Bobby. But I want you to say hello to him when you guys follow his page and interact with him there. So thanks so much, Bob. We're going to be right with you in a second. We're going to close it up now. And hey, man, another episode in the bag. He was so great. He was amazing. So great.
Such good advice. Everyone take note of that, because it was very law of attraction in a sense, you know, bring that good into your life and dispel any negativity. So great words.
Always moving with positivity and gratitude, right? And that's what we got to do, especially in these hard times.
We manifest what we put out there. So just be positive.
Yep. Well, make sure you're following the UK Patriot, guys. I know that we're all trying to lay a little low right now with the censorship stuff, but I think once things sort of clear up, you're going to see a lot more from me and Maddie, a lot more of the truth, and that's what we do.
No holding back. It'll be full blown, just truth bombs.
That's it. That's it. All right. So I'm going to stay in the lobby for a second. I'm going to be right there, buddy. Right. I'm just going to close it out. And all right, we'll catch you in a minute. We're going to be playing some Apex later, too. He and I are going to be playing some Apex live on Twitch as well. So let's get to that later. All right, buddy. Thank you so much. All right, guys. That was another episode. That was episode 5 of Across the Pond with Maddie and Bobby Sauce. I want you to make sure you go to bobbysauce.com. He's a really great guy. And he's really doing something important by bringing some political education to a lot of his content, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for joining us for yet another episode. I thank you so much. We're going to rebroadcast this on YouTube. We're going to be sharing this on YouTube as well. We're going to be posting and sharing that. So please follow this page. Follow Take Naps, the UK Patriot. It's been a great pleasure and an honor to be able to come to y'all today. And just pray, love each other, and just be yourself. Right? Just be yourself. Ask questions. Be critical. And until next time, full send.